Hey there, Start here. So we've got the Dark Insect, the Beeline for Darkness, for this current Dark Visions event. I'm going to show you the team that I used to get the score that you see right now. It's not. It's probably not going to be my my final team. It's just the first team that I put together, and it gets the fight done very easily. There's not a whole lot to it, and it gets a respectable score. Now you see my rank. Currently 256. There's no way it's going to stay that way. I think a score like this would probably be lucky to stay in the top 1,000. So I'm probably going to have to work on a couple of different teams to try and improve my score a little bit. But we'll see. Who knows? It also depends on what units come down down the pipeline, so we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, I wanted to show you this team because it's very, very easy. There's not a whole lot to the rotation, and it gets the fight done with a respectable score. So I'll show you. You see, you get perfect on everything except for the damage. Obviously, we're doing 15 billion on average with this team, which I think is a fairly respectable score. Here's the team that we're using. Esther is Omni covering, so you don't have to worry about anybody taking any kind of damage. Just makes it very, very simple. Sylvia, of course, is here for buffs, elemental buffs and things, insect killers. Flaring Ether Rain is still my strongest leader skill outside of Clash of Wills. So of course he's coming to the fight, and I've got my Genesis there ready to go. And then I decided to bring my crowned Tyvis. I just wanted to see how he would do, and he does fairly well. He could probably do better if I put Runda on the party, and he would also do better if I had some better gear. But I don't. I'm also not. I'm also missing the objectively best breaker for a fire team, which is the latest Neovision Reagan. Because he's got the 89% defense and spirit break with the 150% fire imperil, so he's definitely a good breaker for this. I don't have him, so I decided to bring Ingus, because Ingus got silver crowns recently, which make his brave shifted LB an 88% defense and 89% spirit break. Also does a 145% fire imperil with a 35% fire imperil field for a total of 180% imperil, which is quite nice. It also does those imperils for wind, water, and earth if you wanted to try a wind, water, or earth team. Obviously, this boss is actually slightly weaker to wind. It has a 25% natural imperil to wind as opposed to all the other elements, which are 0. So if you wanted to do a wind team, Ingus might actually be a good slot for a wind team as well. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, I'm going to get in here and just show you the fight. It's very, very simple, and then I'll show you the gear at the end. Alright, so first things first, Esther's going to set up her Omni cover, Electromagnetic, Storm Guardian, Energizing Bunny. Okay. Okay, Sylvie will just do Compassionate Night, Elemental Vines, and we'll do Paladin's Defense. Alright, Tyvis and Genesis are just going to pretty much guard for most of the fight, because we're going to have Ingus do Zidane's STMR. He's going to sing, that's for the 300% LB buff later on. Rain is just going to do True Undermine for the 85% full break. Okay, there you go. So obviously I have a Blizzard Orb equipped to Esther so that she counters and fills up her LB. If for some reason she doesn't counter enough to fill up her LB, then you may want to just bounce and come back in. If it's really close, you can obviously have Sylvie fill it up for you. But 9 times out of 10, Esther has her LB up. So we're going to go ahead and set up that LB field right now. Sylvie's just going to do Burgeoning Defense, Elemental Vines, Elemental Petals. All right, Tyvis Is just going to guard again. Yep. So is Genesis. Rain on this turn can use power to destroy Nethicite. So he's got the Sword of Kings, which is 5-star Ashes STMR. You don't really need it because Esther's going to tank the non-elemental magic damage anyways, but if you just want to be safe, this will seal the non-elemental magic attack that the boss is going to do. And that is the only form of Nethicite we're ever going to use in this whole fight. We're not going to Nethicite the one on turn 4. You know, there's just no need. Esther tanks it, and you never have to worry about the damage score. All right, Esther's going to come back to shift form. All right, now I gave Esther the vision card on the latest step up banner that does the ramping fire amp, so that she'll have a 100% fire amp on turn 5, which is our burst turn. So I'm going to use that on this turn. If you don't have it, just have Esther do something else on this turn. Yeah, honestly, you could shift her back to normal and just have her fill up her LB, because she's going to need it for next turn to re-up her Omni cover. But for me, I'm just going to do this to start the ramping fire amp. Sylvie is going to come back to, is going to go to her brave shift form, and she's just going to fill up, because we want Ingus's LB. We want to try and fill that up if we can. All right, because we are going to need to use that next turn. All right, yeah, no, these guys still have one turn to just guard and hang out. Flaring Aether Rain needs to put a stack on his brave shifted LB. There you go. So Ingus should be close to full, if not full there, so he can use his brave shifted LB next turn. All right, so there's the full party dispel. There's no way to get around that. You know, unless you have Zahn on the team, you can have Zahn hide on turn 3 and then come back and then put everybody's buffs and everything back up. That's definitely doable on this fight, and it's a very reasonable strategy to use on this one, is to use Zahn to steal everybody's buffs, hide on turn 3, come back on turn 4, and project them all on everybody. I might try that in a future clear, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, so Ingus is just going to go ahead and do his brave shifted LB, because we're going to use him as a chainer next turn. All right, Sylvie is going to go ahead and do Eat Insect Killer on Genesis, because Genesis is the most, he's the strongest one that we have on the team. She'll then do Paladin's Offense for the buffs, because we're going to use her as a chainer next turn. And then she can do I've Got Your Back on, who should we do it on? Esther will probably fill her LB up. I think I usually use it on Esther, because Esther has to do her LB here to re-up her Omni cover. I guess she technically doesn't have to. It just gives her better cover mitigation. So you can kind of play around with that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to have Sylvie refill Esther's LB. So Beaten Insect to Genesis. Paladin's Offense for the buffs. And then I've Got Your Back on Esther. Honestly, that might not be the best way to go. You can kind of play around with that. If you want to just have Esther, because her Magnus will be recharged, so you can honestly just use her Magnus if you want to, for the Omni cover. So, and then have Sylvie give the buff, the 400% buff to like Genesis or something like that. There's some options there. There's some options. All right, but anyways, that's what I'm going to do, just to make sure Esther has her LB, because she's going to use it next turn. All right, Rain needs to imbue everybody with fire, and then do Elemental Burst Fire, and Armor Grant Me the Power to refill his LB. All right, so Genesis and Elemental Burst Fire, Magic Sword, Loveless Preface. Make sure Loveless Preface is the last thing that you do for the mag store. All right, and Tyvis, so yeah, his SLB comes with a nice large Great Sword in Peril, so that'll be good for Esther, obviously for himself as well. So we'll use his new ability that he got, All right, time to finish this. You can triple cast that with Tyvus's Spirit, and then Elemental Burst Fire for the 150 amp. Obviously, we'd only have those things if you did his Crown Battles. So if you haven't done, if you didn't do Tyvus's Crown Battles, you might not have all of that. Maybe you want to put somebody else in Tyvus's slot. I leave that up to you. A lot of these TPS units are sort of interchangeable here. Okay. Okay, so there you see we didn't bother to Nephesite anything, and Esther, tanked it just fine. All right, so you see she probably would have refilled her LB there. So you could potentially go with putting using the I Got Your Back on Genesis so that he gets the higher mag buff, but I leave that up to you. All right, so this is our burst turn. Now, I've given Sylvie and Ingus. I'm going to shift Ingus to normal form because that's where I built him for damage. I gave both of them Ayaka's vision card because I have 2 copies of them. If you don't have 2 copies of Ayaka's vision card, don't stress too much. What you can do is if you have 1 copy of Ayaka's vision card, give it to Sylvie, and then give Ingus Aranya's ring so that he can quad cast Fyra. All right. That's one option. If you have no copies of Ayaka's vision card, then just have Ingus triple cast Fyra and have Sylvie triple cast Clever Paladin Strike so that they're chaining Bolting Strike together. All right. The timing is maybe a little bit faster if you're only triple casting Bolting Strike instead of quad casting. But I'll show you what I mean. So the way this is going to work is we'll send Ingus and Sylvie first, obviously. We'll wait just a second, not too long. We'll wait just a second, and then we're going to send Genesis and Tyvus, followed immediately by Rain and Esther. Remember, Esther has to go last because otherwise her field will overwrite the Imperil field for everybody else. Okay, so if you want everybody to take advantage of the Imperil field, Esther has to be the last one to go if you're using her LB. Another option is you can give Esther the limited vision card that has the triple Mirror of Equity frames, so that way she perfectly chains with Rain. That is another option, and that way you don't even have to worry about it. You can send. If you do that, then you can send Ingus and Sylvie, let them fully ramp up the chain, then send Rain and Esther, and then send Genesis and Tyvus, right? So you've got some options there to play with. But if you don't have that card and you need to use Esther's LB, this is how you're going to do it. All right. So here we go. Let's see how we do. Okay. Yeah, only 14.4. That's not definitely not my best, but that's just an example, right? I'd say the team averages around 15. We'll see who rolled low on this one. It's highly dependent on Genesis and Rain. Yeah. So Genesis actually rolled a bit low. He normally rolls closer to 8. Rain's usually a little bit closer to 5. So there's sort of like you're missing 1 billion damage. But yeah, everybody else is pretty much right around what they're usually doing. Tyvus, if my Tyvus was a bit stronger, like if he was EX3, or if I had gotten him up to level 130, and if I had like a preemptive LB boost on him, he'd probably do a bit better. But anyways, this is just to show you how this team works, get you sort of an easy team rotation just for getting this boss cleared out. All right, so let's take a look at the team, or take a look at the gear, I mean. All right, so Tyvus, okay, he's only EX2, he's not been 130'd, so there's potential to increase his damage there. He doesn't need the Magister's Ring if you give him Raging Tempest, because he already hits the chain cap. So if you have an Emperor's Ring instead of the Magister's, that would work better for Tyvis in this case. Tyvis's Cloak is nice because it gives 500 flat stats to Tyvis. Obviously, his TMR got the upgrades from the Season 4 story. Make sure you upgrade it fully, because that gets that's what gives him, if it will show it, that's what gives him this nice passive, which is 1100 static attack, 100% to all these killers, and the last 100% chain limit, or chain cap boost there. All right, so that's why he doesn't need the Magister's Ring. And then, yeah, here's just filling up his LB damage. Tyvis Spirit, obviously you want that on him for the mod boost. Purger of Pestilence, just whatever bug killer you have to cap off his bug killer. He does not need much to cap off bug killers, which is very nice. And I gave him this vision card just to cap off his TDH. Obviously, if you don't have this vision card, you'll need to use like Master of Fate or something to cap his TDH. All right, so yeah, I mean, there are lots of options there for card swaps to improve your damage as well. You know, I'm not too fussed about it. I will probably figure out a stronger team at some point later on this week, but I just wanted to get this one out to you guys in case this works for you. Oh, sorry, I meant to show you. He does have 300% bug killer and 300% LB damage. Good to go. All right. Esther in her normal form, yeah, you know, just some high attack gear, indestructible light for chain cap boost, you know, whatever you have to get her bug killers up and running. This is the special vision card that I was talking about that has the ramping fire amp. All right, and so if you don't have this one, you could slot in like Star Piercer or something. That's the vision card that has the triple Mirror of Equity frames. That could also work here. But if you don't have either one of those, just put in whatever your best vision card is here. All right. In her damage form, she's 275 Insect and 3/5, plenty of LB damage. All right. In her Brave Shift form, just gearing for bulk, basically. One Blizzard Orb for some counters, and then just some bulk. You do want to give her a good spread of elemental resists, but you don't have to worry too much about that. Yeah, Shy Mermaid to up her spirit a bit, and then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Not too much else going on. Sylvie, her gear is irrelevant here. She doesn't really do anything. Again, if you don't have Ayaka's vision card, don't sweat it. She can just triple Bolting Strike with Ingus. And yeah, same in both forms, but it's irrelevant. We don't really care what gear she has. Genesis has his own STMR. Genesis's coat is nice because it does 500 flat stats. Prophet's Diadem is the best hat for Genesis because it loads him up with MP. Magister's Ring because he does need chain cap boost. Pixie Dust just for high mag accessory. And then just capping up his MP here, and then Bug Killer plus Seer of the Future for his mag TDH. Obviously Dazzling Demoness. If you're using Genesis, you're going to want to use Dazzling Demoness or Oliveira's Vision Card practice session. So one of those is going to go in that slot. He's not easy to build for Bug Killer. You see he's only got 250% Insect Killer. Definitely not easy to build, but you know, he gets the 250% killer buff from Sylvie, so that helps. All right, and that's Genesis. Rain in his normal form, Sword of Kings, that's just for that one turn where we Nethicite the AoE magic attack. Nothing really happening there. Lion's Emblem is there just in case somebody needs some LB fill. Yeah, obviously he's a vision card because he's EX3. And then in his Brave Shift form, just full-on damage. So, you know, all my Cal gear, Warlord leg guards for the TDW. Promise from Childhood and Prodigious Performer are there for the chain ramp boost, or the chain speed boost. And then, yeah, Bug Killer. I probably could have taken out I Love Chocobos and put in, like, something, you know, like GF extension or something to give him Esper stats to boost his attack a little more. As you can see, I'm not going all out here on on this one. And honestly, like the Magister's ring would probably be better suited on Rain because he's going to be dealing more overall damage. And by Magister's, I mean, preferably the Emperor's ring because he doesn't need Chain Cat boost. And yeah, he's got 300% insect, more than enough LB damage. He's good to go. All right, Ingus in his normal form is built for damage, so he's got the Dark Vision Sword because we have a 40% Sword Imperil on the field, Memory Chip for the Chain Cat boost, and then Kuja's STMR and the Circlet will finish capping up his Mag TDH. He is a fire category unit, so he does get the leader skill from Rain in this form, which is why you want to build him for damage in this form, not in the other form. And then, yeah, just filling him up with killers on this end. Obviously, Ayaka's Vision card. Like I said, if you don't have Ayaka's Vision card, he can just triple cast Fire with Sylvie. He has 250% insect killer, so best I could do for that. All right, in his Brave Shift form, I also geared him for damage here, but he doesn't really need it. The only thing he needs in this form is I wanted to go with you and Call of the Wild if yours is only EX1 like mine. So mine's EX1, so he doesn't get his LB filled at the beginning. So he needs at least 8 LB to use I wanted to go with you. So that's what Call of the Wild is there for. All right, and that's it. That's everybody. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. I'll probably work a little bit more on my Dark Visions team, try and get a better score at some point, maybe later on this week. Might wait till next week. We'll just see what units are coming down the pipeline. And I still need to do Grace of Wind. I haven't done that trial yet, and so I'd like to get to that today before I do any more Dark Visions clears. So I'm going to try to get to Grace of Wind and get a clear of Grace of Wind out for you guys at some point today. I have a team in mind and I'd like to try. I hope it works. We'll see. And yeah, so stay tuned, guys. Thank you so much for following me, and I will see you on the other side.